You know when you watch videos of yourself in, like, middle school and just...
Oh no! Oh no!
That's kind of what looking at my Spotify discography is like for me right now. Today we're taking a pretty brutally honest look at why my music on Spotify sucks. It does. And I'm talking about everything from lyrics to production to some of the worst years of my own personal life. But don't worry, there's hope. Or at least I hope that there's hope. We all have our musical journeys, and I'm here to share mine. When I was 8 years old, my dad took me to see my first concert, the Foo Fighters' Broken Leg Tour.
I think I really broke my leg. I'm gonna fix my leg, but then I wanna come back.
Which is kind of an iconic tour looking back, at least. And me being the demonic little third grader I was, when I saw the late and great Taylor Hawkins beating the ever-living shit out of a bunch of wooden cylinders in front of thousands, I knew immediately I had found my own calling. So that Christmas, I got a drum set, and my neighbors got annoyed. 5 years later, Schmovid hit, and I was stuck at home with nothing but my delusion of being a rock star to keep myself company. So me and my dad, who had been playing guitar since he was 12, started a band, Priley. And our first project was a DIY punk rock record. He grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I was kind of an angry motherfucker at the time, so we played fast and we played loud. Honestly, like, not even past tense. We're about to release our 5th punk album this year, and it's not exactly foot-tapping jazz. During our first live show, we went on after this, like, acoustic classic rock cover duo, and I remember we sent some of the previous crowd packing after just the first song because of how fucking loud it was. I didn't care, though. I mean, I loved punk. I still do. So after this first album, where we were screaming about rabies, and tiny houses, all stupid, twice for some reason, tiny houses, I decided that I was hot shit and it was time to branch out. So I picked up guitar after years and years of me refusing my dad trying to teach me since I was a kid. But unlike his hard rock influences, I wanted to play acoustic guitar because I was emo about it. So this is when I started discovering every 2020 kid's favorite sad music, like Cave Town and Chloe Moriando, Phoebe Bridgers, the list goes on. But I was coming into myself as a person during this time. I was figuring out my gender identity and some mental health struggles and how to exist socially without, like, being an asshole to everybody around me. Unfortunately, I was also discovering, like, empathy for the first time at the ripe age of 14, and that kind of rocked my shit a little bit. Looking back, music was actually a really healthy outlet for all of that. But anyway, fast forward 2 years and it's 2022. I'm another Priley album deep, and I'm in my sophomore year of high school, aka the time every trans kid wants to, I don't know how to say this without angering the YouTube gods.
Often I'm upset.
So I tried to do what my heroes did when they felt overwhelmed with themselves and the world around them. Make an album. By this time I was into a lot of smaller Midwest emo artists and singer-songwriters, so I took cues from them, or at least I tried to. Look, if I had $1 for every time I looked back at one of my first songs and said, oh, that's a choice, I could buy my own music studio and start freeloading off of my dad. I think when I got caught up in trying to write emotionally cathartic masterpieces like my musical heroes, I forgot that tears and self-hatred, like, weren't quite enough. You need at least a little bit of skill to turn that into anything listenable. Don't get me wrong, like, I was a pretty serviceable drummer by this point. I had been playing for half of my life, but guitar, I was newer, I was self-taught, and I was lazy. Maybe I'm still lazy. And singing, oh boy. Jesus Christ. You know, as much as I cringe looking back at this stuff, the act of having to watch these back before I posted them actually did a lot of teaching me in how to get better. I was kind of forcibly confronted with my own lack of skill, and having it on playback meant I was able to analyze exactly what was and wasn't working in order to improve the next one. So I learned about vowel placement, I learned about breath support, finding my range. And look, I wouldn't say I'm an amazing vocalist now, far from it, but I think my improvement in that department over just a few years has been pretty sizable. Unfortunately, I also made the mistake of thinking that having access to a lot of nice recording equipment was a substitute for not really knowing how to use any of it. The recording is pretty terrible. And on top of all that, the songwriting is just okay. Just like any other skill, it's a craft that you hone by making a lot of terrible songs before you make anything even remotely good. And while I had a lot of experience writing punk music on drums, melodic structural writing was completely new to me. So what you're hearing on Another Resignation is like the okay songs I had out of the dozens of inexperienced songs I had written at the time. Honestly, I think even beyond the poor production and inexperienced singing, what bothers me the most is the lyricism. Not because it's terrible, but because it feels like I was scared to say what I was actually feeling in retrospect. I was trying to emulate my favorite songwriters, who all had something real and vulnerable to say about their experiences. But I wrote this at a time in my own life when I was scared of that insecurity in myself. The vulnerability I found so beautiful and relatable in other people's work was something I'd only recently stopped shoving down. This was the same year I was exploring my gender identity for the first time, and as much as that gave me something real to write about, I didn't really have any practice allowing myself to explore those inner emotions like that yet. So my lyrics were muted. I couldn't quite tap into that vulnerability on my own, so expressing myself to others became really difficult. But I took the leap of faith. I put out an album of my very own, with my own first songs about expressing myself. At the time, I thought, fuck it, having something out is better than having nothing to show for all of my work. Honestly, it's an attitude I wish I kept up with in retrospect. Since my last full album release, I've written somewhere between 40 and 50 songs, and I've released 3 of them. Well, not counting whatever this is. As far as Another Resignation goes, that album is one of 6 LPs I've released in my lifetime, and it's my least favorite. 4 Priley records and an experiment in trying hyperpop all rank higher than my biggest solo work. Since then, I've released a few singles that I'm actually fairly proud of. My songs 6 AM, Ghost Friend, and Your Grim Reaper aren't bad work by any means, but I just feel like I have more to offer. It also seems like people who know me agree. I make all these songs that my family and my friends hear, and then they go nowhere. The people in my life who want to support me are practically begging me to release something. And the people who support me online have nowhere other than my social media to go. So why haven't I released anything substantial? Part of it's the chore of promotion. It's fun to write and record, but it's substantially less fun to have to pantomime all over TikTok, making cringe-ass videos of myself lip-syncing to my own music, asking people to stream it. It's embarrassing, and like most musicians, marketing isn't my strength or really what I enjoy. But I feel like it doesn't make sense for me to release music on streaming platforms if I'm not going to promote it. Why spend so much time making music if no one's there to listen? But ironically, that means the songs never come out, and no one listens to them anyway. It's real smart. The other reason, arguably worse, is that I'm consistently looking back on my songs from just a few months ago and picking them apart, which I'm now realizing is basically the first half of the video. The problem with constantly trying to improve as a recording artist is that the old songs start to feel worse and worse with age. So when it comes time to release music, it feels pointless to release something that's not indicative of my current ability. And when it comes to putting things out for streaming, I tend to get caught up in cycles of looking for the perfect song at the perfect time, which is kind of strange considering I treat the actual writing process much more like a constantly evolving journal than a product to be sold and perfected. I don't know, maybe I need to take that approach with my releases too. So much of what I love about my favorite artists is their DIY feel. It's imperfections, things that serve as a portrait of where the artist was at the time of recording. Mistakes, imperfect tuning, unpolished production. I guess it's easier to see other people's mistakes as adding cool character and my own as, well, mistakes. I can't romanticize my own journey as easily as I can Bon Iver's cabin recordings or small-town indie artists' DIY demos. But I guess if I was in their positions, those moments wouldn't necessarily feel magical either. They're just days. So, fuck it. This is where I'm at right now. I'm putting out a double single on Friday, July 11th. My songs Transgender People and Daughter. They did okay on TikTok. Pretty good for me, honestly. But that's not the point. I'm practicing just releasing things, finally, whether they blow up or not. And I'm gonna play one of them for you right now. One take, no pitch correction. This is Daughter. I'm even gonna record this on my phone.
Daughter, but I don't want to be this. I talk as if I've lost her, and you say that I'm your kid. Over text messages, drying up empty tears on my cheek. Growing up, I was taught to live a well, I never thought you pretend not to see on me. I thought your eyes looked dead, but I know that you can feel something, and I've stayed the same in your head. Gotta feel my heart shutting off, 'cause you treat nothing about me like it's real. I'm not real enough for you. And I feel like I'm drowning, 'cause at home I was everything except for what I knew. Trying your best, but most of the time I know it's all pretending, and I was always a sad boy in a dress, 'cause I never got to grow up like all the other kids. I was never a daughter to you, even though I was something you couldn't forbid. I don't think that I've ever convinced you it's true. I thought your eyes looked dead, but I know that you can feel something, and I've stayed the same in your head, and gotta feel my heart shutting off, 'cause you treat nothing about me like it's real. I'm not real enough for you, and I feel like I'm drowning, 'cause at home I was everything except for what I knew. Whoa, be nothing about me. Like it's real, I'm not real enough for you. And I feel like I'm drowning, 'cause at home I was everything except for what I knew. Thanks guys. Thanks for watching.